Hi, so this is Clarissa again. I am going to be talking about my traumatic childbirth and how it's affected my life, and I'm doing it in separate chapters. And so, in this particular chapter, we're going to be talking about my healthy recovery and feeling like I was also in hell at the same time. So, after the operating room and the recovery room that I couldn't have my son be in or stay in with me because it wasn't just a recovery room for me. It had about 3 or 4 spots open for anybody, and I was taking up one of those spots. So, um, yeah, so finally I had my own room, which was nice. My mom came to visit when she lives about 8 hours away, my mom and dad, and then my an aunt and uncle of mine both came to visit as well, and they're about 4 hours away. So it was really nice to have all of them, and of course my husband, and so it was nice to see everybody there supporting me and all this love, and it was so beautiful, and they got to hold the baby and take pictures and all this stuff. How are you doing? Are you okay? Anything to drink and all that stuff. So it was nice at the start, but after that first full day, because I gave I gave birth to him, and he was born at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. So it was nice that it was on a Sunday because then they could all come visit and it's not harming any like work plans or whatever. So that was good. But they had to leave pretty late in that like afternoon, late afternoon. So I ended up staying for about 3 or 4 days, and which is after uh, I had the baby. So my husband has a daughter, and so my stepdaughter is 12 years old now. This was last year, so she was about 10, just before her birthday, and so um, he had to be home, make sure she had her homework done, and she was fed and went to sleep, and not be stuck at the hospital all day, so she has some normalcy. But that meant that I was alone most of the time. So I had a lot of love and support and comfort right after I had Jackson. But then after that, it was mostly just me by myself. So I felt really self conscious that I was alone. I felt like, aren't mothers supposed to be here and be surrounded by love and not be doing this all on their own? Um, I also have very deep set veins, so it was hell to try to find veins that they can puncture to either get blood or to give medicine. So, like I said, I was like way over medicated when I even started the whole process. So now, I'm having, I'm recovering well. I'm sitting up, you know, in the proper amount of time. I I can move my feet out of bed and like, kind of stand up, and all of that is going well. But then all of a sudden, I have like this sharp pain in my chest and a sharp pain also in my back, and I start freaking out. And I told my nurse, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of people were surrounding me. They couldn't find a line to use. Then they called someone else. They couldn't find it. Then they called someone else. It's like that always happens. But I've never had real medical issues in my life. So it was really freaky because here I am, somebody who has pretty decent immune health, and all of a sudden my freaking body is just crashing horribly. Um, so there was like a team of people surrounding me, so that way I can. They told me what was going on. They were gonna do a CAT scan to make sure everything was okay. Essentially, I think what happened is that I should have gotten the second blood transfusion, but because I kept psyching myself out because I so desperately wanted to be with my son, it seemed like I was okay and they were just going to monitor me, but I wasn't okay. So it is what it is, but I felt very alone. I felt very alone in all of the decision making. I felt really scared. They hooked me all up. I had a catheter because I had the epidural, and then I ended up getting the C-section. So when they took me to the CAT scan, whoever the hell was told to come and get me, to move me to the other bed so they can roll me out and get me to get the CAT scan. I guess maybe they were uninformed that I had a C-section, so they were going over bumps and it hurt. It was so painful. I just felt like, oh, this huge cringy feeling. And so I kept, we got there, and they let me know that, they have iodine that's going to be going into my veins or whatever, so they could see what's going on. Well, I guess it wasn't done right because they were poking me everywhere. I had bruises everywhere from all of that. That when I went in there and they told me, okay, now we're gonna put the dye. You're gonna feel a little bit of the, like, a warm feeling, and it squirted. So they didn't get as much dye as they should have, but it was enough. So everything seemed okay. They did a second blood transfusion, which took forever. It's painful, and so aside from that, I when they were getting me out of the CAT scan, my bag that's attached to my vagina so I can pee got tugged and it was pulling out, and I screamed, "Stop!" And then they stopped and they're like, "Oh my God!" And they fixed it and everything like that, and it was just horrifying. It was horrifying. And so then they rolled me back, and here goes the rest of the roller coaster. I have at that after that, and after the blood transfusion, things were going much smoother, but it was so painful. And I felt like I so wanted to focus on being able to have skin to skin and bond with my son and breastfeed him. And I felt like I wasn't getting enough help breastfeeding because my health issues were spiraling out of control. And it did make me think, like, thank goodness I no longer had the feeling that I wanted to have an in-home birth like I had thought about, when I'll be a future mom someday, I want to have a natural birth. And things did not work out that way for me at all. So I'm glad that I was at the hospital, because that's the best place I could be for shit to hit the fan, and it so did. So yeah, my arms, they felt really heavy, like I could barely move them well on my own so that I can pick up my son. I had the little bassinet thing that they give you right next to me in my bed, but I could not reach over to pick him up. Every time I wanted to hold him, I had to ask a nurse to come over, or if my husband was there, then he can hand me the baby. But he wanted to have his time with the baby too, which is totally fine. I wanted him to be able to bond with him as well. But it was just so hard because I felt like the things that I thought should be okay, normal, and part of the whole process was just crushed. That dream was crushed brutally. And coming from somebody who has, like, a pretty good immune health, it was devastating to me to not be able to breastfeed because I was in recovery for so long that they had no choice but to give him a bottle. Like, I really, really wanted that opportunity and I couldn't have it. And yeah, so this is just the part of the up and down recovery roller coaster, but yeah, it was a lot of, like, just not being prepared and being scared and feeling alone. So my husband was totally there for me when he did come to visit. He pampered me and he fed me and he gave me my drink so I could drink, and he took care of me a lot, but he just couldn't be there the whole time. So it was really hard, but thank you for listening, and I feel like this is going to be really helpful for me to be able to talk about it. So I appreciate you. So thank you.